the only show that's 3 dimensions away from Megan and Chucky crossing over. I'm your host, 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Megan, released in 2023. Megan is directed by Jar Johnstone and is written by James Wan and Akilah Cooper and stars Allison Williams, Violet McGraw, Ronnie Chang, and Amy Donald as Megan. The movie's essentially about, he's a little girl who gets in a car accident and loses her parents and has to go live with her aunt. And her aunt is a toy developer who develops an AI toy who basically can play back with the children. And so, of course, Megan, as the toy is called, goes, he says, becomes so attached to the little girl that she basically starts to go around, and anyone that bullies her or anything starts to hunt and kill the bullies. If a dog messes with her, she hunts and kills the dog. And if like this, even the aunt gets mad at her or something, then Megan ruins the aunt's life. Megan is essentially kind of like Child's Play. Essentially, it's essentially about a killer doll. Essentially, is what it is. And so, like, as for one person who loves Child's Play, I was excited to see this movie. When I saw the movie, I didn't like the movie as much. And I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just it's forgettable. Is what I think. Like, I watched Megan. I was like, okay. You know, like, there are some good moments. I could see, compared to the Child's Play 2019 remake, this movie, I feel like, does a lot of things better than that movie. Like, they have the exact same plot, where, about an AI doll. And I think the ideas are there, but I think Megan had an edge over it, essentially. Because, like, I think about this. There's things about this movie that I feel like did better than Chucky 2019 did. You know, but I feel like this movie just feels like the main idea, like, it feels like it goes for more of a humor route and doesn't really embrace the idea as much. Well, like, it has the idea more than Chucky did, but Chucky didn't embrace the idea. Chucky was just trying to be a remake slasher. While this movie kind of does it better, but it feels like, as you were wanting it to be a horror, it was more of a comedy, and it just felt stale compared to what it could have been so much better. There are things I do like about this movie. Like, I do like the foster mother-daughter storyline where essentially the sister becomes like, you know, the aunt becomes like a foster mother to the niece. And I do like that aspect of it. And then she kind of builds this doll as basically replacing and becoming, like, if you watch the movie, when Megan starts becoming more like that mother figure to the niece. And so she basically is basically like the aunt, you know, the new aunt in a way, where the daughter starts to resent the actual aunt and basically starts to rely on Megan for companionship. And I really like that aspect of it. I'm sitting there like, okay, like, you know, the daughter just starts to become more, like, you know, rebellious, and she starts to become more aggressive. And I really like that aspect of it. And Megan is basically like, you know, her BFF, and she's just like, you know, there's so many things about that. I thought that was really well done compared to, say, Child's Play 2019, which tried to do that, but it felt more flat than it did. Like, because Chucky, it made more Chucky a joke than it did anything else in that movie compared to this movie, where I actually think Megan is a much better villain in that movie compared to Mark Hamill's Chucky in that movie. And I also thought, you know, the directing in this movie was pretty solid. Like, I've never heard of Jar Johnstone. I want to say he directed a Purge movie, but I could be wrong about that. But I do think that his directing in this movie is really well done. This movie is well shot, and I will say it has great cinematography. I'm pretty sure it's shot in Canada, but it does look really well done. I mean, like, it's well shot, you know, and it looks like, you know, it fit a horror movie vibe. And, you know, I would say the directing is spot on. A lot of great cinema shots of, like, cars and everything. And I even like how at the beginning of the movie it has a fake buffer. Like, you think if you're watching, especially me on a TV, like, you know, watching it, and then you see your screen buffer, you're like, oh my god, I have to reset this TV. And it just turns out it just says Megan, you're like, oh, that's clever. You know, if you watch it in theater, it's not going to do much effect because, you know, like, you know, the screen doesn't buffer. But if you watch it at home, like, that's freaking clever. You know, and I thought the directing was really solid. And everybody, you know, the direction, really, like, there's a lot of things about the direction in this movie that I thought was well done. Like, the pacing, I thought was even. And I thought, you know, every scene needed to be part of it. It didn't feel like you needed to take some scenes out. It felt like everything in this movie belongs here. You know, and I thought that was well done about a director, you know. The kills in this movie are great. Like, I really like the kills. Like, you know, there are some great kills in this movie. Like, one kill I really like and enjoy is, you know, like, there's a kill where, like, you know, a woman gets, like, sprayed with these chemicals and she just melts her flesh. And then, you know, on top of that, you know, just to make things worse, like she just does horrible things, you know, and then she kills a dog, which I think that's horrible, but you know, it is what it is. And she also runs a boy over. She rips a boy's ear off, and then he runs into a car and gets hit by a car, which I thought that was pretty clever. And then she kills this one dude. Well, you know, she kills the one dude, stabs him through the heart, and then another dude, she basically tries to convince him to. She convinces him, like, gives him a whole backstory of why he did this, even though he didn't do it. You know, like, there's a scene I really like where she's talking about, like, oh, you killed your boss, and you were stealing secrets and all this. And so, basically, you know, you went on a killing spree, and then you ended up killing yourself. And he goes, because you could not take life. He goes, no, I like my life. And then he just stabs him. I thought that was so freaking clever. I'm like, that is so great. That is awesome. I'm like, an AI is basically just berating you. And the humor is really clever. Like that, there's some humor like that scene that's played for laughs, and it's also chilling. Like, there's a lot of good humor in the movie, you know, that I thought worked well, like, you know, because the doll's really funny. You know, the doll's kind of like I would say a mid-level Chucky, because the doll just really just, like, can crack a joke whenever, and just also has this great dance number when she's just trying to chase after the bad guy. You know, there's, like, a guy in this movie played by Ronnie Chang, who is, like, the boss of this company that's trying to get this doll out there, and like at one point he's running and the doll's just having a dance number while he's running. It's so great. And then on top of that, you know, she basically just not like literally, like, she gets chewed up by a dog, then she kills that dog, and just like, you know, she does, like, you know, like, she even, like, just has one-liners as she kills, like, other people, which is so great. I'm trying to spoil it all for you, but it's great. And also, there's a lot of practical effects in the movie. Like, it feels like this whole movie, like the doll, even though it's a CGI doll, you feel like there's, like, a lot of practical effects in this movie. Like, you know, like, it feels, a lot of things feel like this was all practical, and a lot of it feel like CGI. And if there was CGI in the movie, I would be shocked, you know? And I think that's one thing that works about this movie. The CGI stuff that's in the movie, there's, like, one scene at the beginning that I don't like, and I'll talk about that in a second. But everything about that actually works, though. Like, and the things I don't like about the movie, I'm going to go to the CGI thing real quick. At the beginning of the movie, there's like a snow scene where it shows the parents dying in a car accident, and you just see a snowplow truck came out of nowhere, and you could tell it just looks like a cartoon almost. I'm like, that just does not look real at all. You know? I mean, that to me kind of irked me, and really, that was really the only thing that CGI that irked me. Mostly everything else looked pretty solid. The story's pretty generic, you know. It's about like they want a toy that's going to sell out and be popular at a cheap price. And, you know, the only thing that made it generic really is made it original is the cheap price. But everything else, like, is pretty much generic about an evil toy that gets AI and wants to go on a killing spree. Pretty generic story, but it's still a fun story. The acting, I did not like the acting. Like, everybody in the acting, except for Megan, is pretty much acting hollowly. Like, I would say even the boss is somewhat, like, it feels like a lot of these people are first-time actors, and it just doesn't feel like they're, like, you know, experienced. I feel like if you have bigger actors in this movie, like, I feel like it would be, like, more engaging, but I feel like first-time actors, it just doesn't feel like these are, like, is this the best we got? Like, can we just have better actors in this movie? Because I feel like, but I think that's probably why they choose first time, because it's more of a comedy, you know, so they're trying to make it more goofier. So I guess that's why they went with first time rather than experience. If it was experience, it wouldn't be as funny, because they'd be trying to really selling this performance. But, you know, and also the aunt played by Alice Wine just acts like hollow, like she's like a tree. You know, you're sitting there just like, yeah, like, I'm like, there's, like, I don't even think she smiles, like, once or twice in the movie, because she's just, like, the most depressed aunt ever. And I'm like, I get she lost her sister, but it's like, she just doesn't have any emotion at all. I mean, she, like, I would believe that that's Kristen Stewart from Twilight, because literally she has, like, she plays it like Kristen Stewart played in Twilight, with no emotion whatsoever. And that kind of irked me, because I'm like, why are you giving the Twilight performance? Why shouldn't you be giving, you should be giving like a Hermione from Harry Potter performance. Why are you giving a Twilight performance? Because you're acting like a hollow tree right now. Okay? And that just irks me so much. You know, and, you know, also it's not really scary. I have two little nitpicks. It's not scary. But at the same time, I understand why, because it's a jokey movie and it's fun. And also, it's really stupid. There's a really stupid third act where Megan, it's funny because Megan and the aunt are fighting, and she's like, if you tell her to come in here, I'll pull your fucking head off. And then the aunt has the advantage over Megan, and then Megan's like, no, we're fine. And then Megan's like, yeah, we're fine. Just like they in the other room, you're like, y'all okay? Yeah, we're just talking, and then they're both agreeing to that. Like they almost took like a lady's agreement to basically make amends. Like, okay, we're not gonna tell what's happening, but we're gonna try to kill each other. You know, that's how stupid that scene is. That's so funny. I was laughing hysterically at that scene. And also, there is a stupid scene where Megan fights another robot in the movie. Like, there's a robot that looks like something from Obi-Wan, and that the ant controls. And then Megan and that robot get into a fight. And it's just so dumb, but it's so funny. I mean, it's one of those movies that it's not good, but it's also not bad. It's just in the middle where it's kind of fun to laugh at and watch, but it's also kind of cheesy, but it's fun. It's a fun movie. I mean, I had a good time with it. Would I watch it again? No, probably not. But I could see other people watching it just for like, oh, you know, like a bad movie night or something like that. But it's a fun, cheesy film. And, you know, I enjoyed it, but I'm probably never going to watch it again. And it's forgettable plot. And I couldn't even tell you any of the characters' names in the movie. And that's why I didn't say any of the characters' names, really. Because I just forgot, like, automatically. And so... But yeah, it's an okay film. I'm sure people are gonna love it. There's still at least one person that's like, "Oh, this is my new favorite movie." But to me, it was just forgettable. You know, if I had to give this movie a grade, I would give it a solid C+. Thank you so much for watching.
Ever again. It's nice to have a friend.